So, John, thank you for starting the recording. If you wouldn't mind letting people in as they come in, that would be great. So I'm going to start the PowerPoint, the slideshow. There we go. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody, for taking some time out of your day to join me and a couple of guests that I'll introduce in a second. It's funny, today is actually a very, very mixed bag of attendees. Some of you I have known for about 2 weeks, where I met at the Microsoft conference out in Redmond. Others I have known for 20 years, so it's quite a span. And I thank each of you for investing some of your time to get something out of this. I'm quite certain that we have two concepts we're going to talk about today. With how to actually make some more money off of the 365 platform if you're already selling it, or if you're not selling it, some other ways to add some services to make it really worth your while. So with that, today, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to learn who is PlumUC, who is Call Tower, what are the services that we provide, how are you going to be able to increase your revenue, and basically a recipe. What are the next steps? I'm a big fan of not talking about blue sky, but what are we doing today? What are we going to do tomorrow to get us to where we want to be? That's what today's all about. So when we're done, at the very end, the last slide, we'll have all of my contact information, and definitely would like to connect as soon as you're able to get on the calendar. So first and foremost, I've been around in the channel in this industry on the telecom side. So we also have here, we have a mixed bag of IT professionals, and then we have telecom professionals on the phone. I've been in the telecom channel for 15 years. I've started a few channel programs over that period of time. I guess most notably, the one that everybody would know is a product called Start Meeting, which was launched by that little company called freeconferencecall.com, which everyone knows and loves to hate, but they've done quite a job of really changing the industry, and I had to have a little piece, get to participate in that for a little bit, and it's it's a very, very exciting opportunity to really take that product to market. So that was called Start Meeting. From there, I saw that there was an opportunity on the unified communication side, and specifically Link. I spent years running from it, afraid of it, putting my head in the sand, saying, it's not something I really want to worry about. I'm going to focus on conferencing. Well, one day I woke up and said, that's asinine. I really need to figure out how to work with this. And not only am I figuring out how to work with it, but I've really made it a central part of my business model, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Really a channel guy. I don't think of myself as a sales guy ever. I just never have. Definitely more of not a transactional salesperson by any stretch of the imagination. Thank goodness my livelihood doesn't depend upon that, because I'd be in big trouble. Much more about the relationship. And like I said, some of the relationships I have here, professional relationships I've had for 10 plus years. So that's really how I'm continuing with my new venture, which I just launched earlier this year, specifically focusing on the channel and really looking at ways to help my partners leverage Office 365 and Link to increase their revenue. And also on the phone today, I have John McDevitt, who is my contact person with Call Tower. John, why don't you just take a quick sec? So I don't want to put words in your mouth about what Call Tower is all about in that 30-second bit.
Yeah, so thanks, Greg. Again, and good afternoon, everybody. So I am the Northeast Channel Manager with Call Tower, headquartered out of Salt Lake City. I cover basically Maine down to the Florida region. You'll hear about Call Tower more.
You guys go ahead and mute your phones, please.
What?
Thank you.
What the heck?
That's better.
Thank you.
So you'll hear more about Call Tower, throughout the presentation towards the end.
That's not good.
Can you guys mute your lines, please? All right, John, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to flip it. Okay, guys.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center.
So they're dialing into the bridge. They don't realize they're connected. Here, let's do this.
Sorry, I can't find a mute.
Oh, come on.
Let's see. Hey, see, they don't. Sorry, guys, but they don't realize that they are. Just give me 1 second here. Hey, John, can you mute them? Mute all.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID followed by pound.
Yeah, those are fees. I never got a chance to call my phone. I got too much on my plate.
If you're the leader, please press star now.
I don't think you know what you
After the tone, please record your name and then press pound. You're now joining the meeting.
There they are.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hey guys, I just joined. Hang up the other line, please. Hang up the other line.
I'm muted.
Okay, you may have muted the client. You have to mute the speakers on your computer as well, please.
Or you already did.
All right. Okay, who just joined, please mute everything except for your phone since you joined your phone. Or hang up the phone because you were connected. We heard you. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and
I don't know what's wrong. I had my speaker muted on my computer, and I had the speaker muted on my phone, and we were still getting some feedback.
Okay.
Yeah, but did you turn the volume down on your phone like I asked you to?
Why would that matter? My speaker was muted.
Hold on, I know who this is, guys.
Because
Just give me
it's
1
just
second.
another exercise.
Yeah,
So
but I mean-
a lot of times when you hear weird feedback, you hit your volume down and you don't have the feedback anymore.
But my
That's why.
speaker was muted, and my microphone was muted on my phone. Shouldn't have mattered.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I want you to try it because that's a lot.
John,
of
why
times
don't you
when
try
I
it?
get weird
Why
feedback.
don't you try it?
Yeah, I'm navigating.
I've got the webinar. Why don't you try to dial in?
Yeah, everything sounds fine now.
No. Okay, they're not. Hey, it's John and Bill. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can, yes. We heard you on both lines, so we were getting some feedback, so we're good. All right, guys, so we don't waste any more time,
I think we're
flip
good
right
now.
back in. All right, great. Excellent. Thank you. So let's flip it back to, there's an example of what you just don't want to happen. So what we're going to talk about right now, guys, is the link-enabled bridge. All right, this is something that really has been developed it's not been around very long. There's only 3 providers in the industry that Microsoft has authorized to provide, to integrate with Office 365 and with Link. So what that means today, and this is the most common complaint that I hear from people on Link. They say, hey, it's great, it's great inside the organization, but as soon as you want to have a discussion with somebody outside, it falls apart. It's in a bubble. So that's, to a degree, there's some truth to that. I mean, I could argue it, but I can understand that perception. So with that, you get everybody in the company talking on, having a conference call, a free conference call for included at no additional charge. But what about the people that are outside? What if they're outside the 4 walls, they don't have access to the internet for whatever reason, they're traveling, whatever? Then in that case, what we've done is those people are used to a typical conferencing scenario where they're dialing into the good old PSTN conference bridge, right? They dial a phone number, either a toll or a toll-free number, and then a passcode to gain access. But the ideal would be to take those 2 worlds, marry them together, and that's exactly what we've done. So we said we're going to take the link bridge, we're going to embed into that a PSTN bridge. So when an invite is sent out to a customer, to a prospect, or to whomever, the recipient, it's going to have 2 things. It's going to have a link to join the meeting via VoIP, and it's also going to have a phone number and passcode for everybody to be able to join. So what that'll do is, obviously expands the reach of that particular meeting. But what it does for us as sales partners, as people looking to help our customers and generate revenue at the same time, this now turns into a recurring revenue engine, a vehicle for that. Because just like every other conferencing bridge, it's always billed per minute per person. So with this, you're able to take people that are outside, have them dial in, and access that same meeting. So it's a very, very powerful tool. We're going to talk about some of what's really important is not the concept, but really the revenue potential. So what we do is we go in, we add the service at no additional charge. It's simply a matter of getting the customer set up, giving the basic contact information, set them up for free. We provide the access instructions, so they'll get a welcome email. They'll get instructions on embedding that information, on actually going into their Office 365 client, loading the dial-in number and passcode, so it'll be integrated at that point. So when those emails go out, the invites go out, it'll automatically be embedded in the invitation and in the iCal event. The buy price on this particular service is 2.5 cents a minute. Now, I'll tell you, when I started this a long time ago, I was selling a minute of conferencing toll-free for 24 cents a minute, wholesale. Okay, today that market has deteriorated tremendously. Right now, you're looking at rates generally 4, 5 cents a minute, somewhere in that range. And then, of course, we all get cute with our pricing. We say it's 2.9, 3.9, 4.9. But with this particular product, it's so limited, as I mentioned, as far as the providers that can actually offer it. It is not yet commoditized. This particular product right now is being retailed on the open market for 7 cents a minute by one of the major providers in the industry. 6 cents a minute by another major provider in the industry. So my suggestion is, why don't we go in, we'll undercut them. You probably wouldn't even have to. You could match the market rate and still get the business because of your relationship. But if you went in at 5 cents a minute, your buy price would be 2.5 cents a minute. There's no commitment, there's no long-term obligation. It's simply just a pay-as-you-go model. You don't buy anything in blocks ahead of time. It's strictly metered. That's another thing I want to cover. One of the other popular models out there today is buying a block of minutes. Personally, I've never been a fan because, honestly, the customer loses in that case, because if they buy a block of 1,000 and they use 900, well, they've overpaid for those minutes. They're not paying what they think that they paid for the usage because they've underused that block. If they go over, they're hit with an overage charge. This way, it keeps it very, very simple, very clean, and customers are used to purchasing this way. So very simple, sell it for 5 cents a minute, you've got a 50% margin. Pretty healthy margin in this day and age. The other nice thing is any Office 365 license with the link enabled. Now, there's some that won't have link, but those that have link, we can actually take that and bake it right into it. So we're going to talk about another service a little bit later that has some stipulations as far as which version of 365 is used. So now let's continue the revenue discussion, because that's really what drives our attention. So these are some assumptions. Now, I'm never a big fan of putting out this, well, let's extrapolate, let's put in the calculator and say, okay, and if this many people take in this up, let's not do that. I just want to give you a very, very, in my mind, and I've confirmed this with many different partners and providers, I think these are quite conservative numbers. So here's what I anticipate you should be able to generate from this just by adding this service. An average conference call, 7 lines, okay? We could say maybe it's 5. Okay, that's fine. If it's 5 or 7, not a problem, either one. I can tell you that the average PSTN callers in a typical conference call with the link enabled bridge is 2. So there's 2 people. I'll have calls with 4 people, and 2 of them, often 1 to 2, are dialing in using the number. Why? It's because it's what they're used to, it's what they're comfortable with, or they're not near their computer and they're doing this remotely. So those are the 2 we're focusing on for this particular exercise. Typical conference call duration, 30 minutes. That might even be a little bit shy. It depends on what study you look at, but it's going to certainly be in the ballpark. So I'm trying to be a little bit conservative in our numbers. So you're looking at 60 minutes for that particular call. You're looking at a revenue. Remember, I said before, we're looking at, if you're buying at 2.5 and you're selling at 5, I'm saying roughly 2 cents. I'm even being conservative there. So if you're making 2 cents a minute on that, you're looking at on every call roughly just over $1. Okay, so let's extrapolate that out. And that's where the fun comes in. That's a call, a typical call. Now, a call per week. How many calls per week happen? Some will do 2, some will do 20. It's just all over the board. I can tell you, as you well know, there's no longer a case where you get to say, well, here's where you should be using conferencing. Everyone's using it already. So this is a number that I feel is very, very conservative. Remember, this is one account. Okay, a company may have 200 accounts. A typical one probably will have 20. When they sign up, they'll say, yep, give me 20 users. Okay, so I am trying to be as conservative as possible to give you a picture of what to expect, selling this service without, painting something that's going to overly optimistic that's going to you'll just be disappointed down the road. So what does this translate into? It's $48 a month. Okay, that's not a bill, that's commission. And that happens month after month after month. So the fun stuff, that's where this stuff happens, right? If you start, okay, well, let's see what this means. $48 is not going to get anybody excited. I know that. I get it. If you look at it based on what you might make from the sale of a Microsoft Office 365 license, it might excite you because it's considerably more lucrative than the 365 license itself. But this assumption right here is saying very, very simply, you sign one account a month, a brand new account a month, one user a month. Anybody that's ever sold conferencing, this is extremely, ridiculously conservative. That's by design, just so I don't want to, oversell this really. So that first year, look, nobody's getting wealthy. You're making almost $4,000 in that first year. But second year, those same accounts, if you stopped selling, you sold for one account a month, so you brought on 12 accounts, 12. You could do that in a month, honestly. But if you did that in a year, over the course of a year, and you spread it out one a month, you're looking at almost $7,000 in year two. But this is not how conferencing works. Conferencing actually grows with time. It definitely has a viral nature to it, thank goodness. So what happens is, usually there's growth month to month. Now, I'm being very, very conservative in these numbers because I've seen numbers go up by 100% month to month with some seasonality, right? We all know that, in the fall, it gets crazy, and that's when, like right now, it's conferencing heyday. It's just this time of year is when, everyone's back from summer vacations and they're really geared up and they're looking at gearing up toward the end of the year. It's just a great time. But so I'm building in these numbers a 5% growth. With that, if they go month to month, a 5% growth, that 3,700 goes to 4,500. That 6,900 goes to 12,000. I still think that's too conservative, frankly. Remember, this is from 12 accounts. I'm not saying you've got to go out and sell, 100 accounts to make this happen. I think this is more reality, and this is me just speculating. It is. This is me dreaming a little bit, but it's absolutely doable. Year one, that 3,744 actually goes up to 5,531. Year two, you're looking at 16,000. Again, this isn't going to pay all of your bills. This is incremental to what you're doing already. If you're already selling Office 365, this is the moral of the story is you should be adding the link-enabled bridge for this very reason. There's $16,000 extra for those 12 accounts that you've sold. So look at your customer base. Look who's selling 365. A percentage of those will absolutely take you up in this offer. It costs them nothing to get involved, and they will use it. Okay, so that's the link-enabled bridge. We're going to hold questions to the end, and then if you want, you can feel free to chat in the questions in the window. So we're going to change gears a little bit. All right, we've been talking about the bridge, the link-enabled bridge, but now let's step back and say, okay, link. I'm not here to sell you on the value and the benefits of link because right now you've seen it, you've heard of it, it's everywhere. It's definitely changing the way people are doing business, all the way from mom and pop shops on up to the enterprise, Fortune 100 enterprise companies. Believe it or not, they are actually the largest adopters of Link to date, but it's moving downstream. So the SMB space, which is where I mostly play, and I'm guessing most of you play, is actually coming on board, and that's why the timing for this particular model is right. So Link is great. It does all these good things. What it does not do, though, it's missing something. It's missing voice. Okay. So what it will allow a customer to do, if we're going to learn in a second here, by adding dial tone, there's a problem. There's a problem the customer has right now. What is it? Well, we want to put them in a situation where they have a unified communications. They have a single interface for all of their communications, not Link for all their good stuff, their email, their IM, the presence, and all that happy stuff. We want to take it to the next level. We want to include dial tone, turn into a full communication solution. When does that come up? What is the customer pain? So there's a couple of, I guess, we'll call them business drivers that come up that will really drive this conversation. Is the customer's business expanding? Are they moving out of their existing facility? Are they moving to a different location? Or is there equipment that they have? Let's say they're an old school and they have on-prem equipment. Maybe it's aging, and they say, you know what? Now's time. I've heard about the cloud. I want to go virtual. Now is the time. And these are discussions we're hearing every single day. It's not like something you're going to even you probably have been there. You may not even have to bring it up to them. They're coming to you and say, hey, tell me about this. What is this going to do for my business? How do I benefit? So this feeds right into that. So here's how we solve these problems. Number one, the voice. We're going to bake that voice right into Office 365. We're going to take it. We're going to leverage that purchase that they made. They don't even realize the value that can come or how we can take that and turn it into a phone system. And that's the message that we're bringing to market. And then it's going to cost them upfront. There's no capital expense. If somebody is going to go and add a 200-seat phone system on-prem, you can bet there's significant capital expense. Here, it's not capital. It all shifts to operating expense. And there's many other benefits behind that, behind the SaaS model. That's not what today is all about. I'm sure by now you get that. You understand why it makes sense to have a SaaS offering, just from staying up to date, staying current with the releases. Not if it's not as intensive from an IT resource perspective, from a headcount. So there's many, many reasons to move in that direction. This is just one more solution that actually leverages that business model. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to John so he can tell you a little bit more about Call Tower. So I've been working with Unified Communications for the last not very long. I've been in the space for 15 years, but this has been about the last year and a half. Call Tower is the company that I've decided to really bring to market because several things that they're doing right. So rather than put words in his mouth, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to John. I'll flip the slides through if you'd like.
All right, actually, you know what, Greg? I'll let you drive and I'll talk. I don't know if I can drive and talk at the same time. I'm not that
talented. No sweat. All right, so there you go.
All right, next slide. So thank you, everybody, again for joining, and I thank Greg for setting this up. Greg Plum and PlumUC is a new, what we call a master partner of Call Tower. Call Tower does not have a direct sales force. We're made up of two strategic partners. One was with Sprint, and the other one I can't disclose at this point as we're still onboarding them, as well as the partner channel. We've been focused on unified communications since about 2001, 2002. We started with a Cisco-hosted multi-tenant call manager, which is still one of our core products. And about a year and a half ago, got together with Microsoft and spent about $2.5 million putting the multi-tenant LVP2H platform into our data center, which is enabling customers to take advantage of the Microsoft Link voice-enabled product. So if everybody remembers back in the day with Office Communicator Service, OCS, then it went to 365, then it went to Link, and now the voice enablement Link came out, again, about a year and a half ago. So the difference between an on-prem service with Link and Call Tower, ours is hosted in the cloud versus on-prem. So there is no CapEx. You don't have to go out and buy the server, the licenses, the software, the upgrades, the maintenance, and everything that comes with an on-prem server. And oh, by the way, where's the disaster recovery? Where is the redundancy? There isn't any. So those of you that are on the East Coast that experienced Sandy, there was many VoIP providers that were out for as much as 8 days. If you were a Call Tower customer, you weren't out at all, so long as you could get an internet connection. And I found myself at Starbucks quite often when I was out with my internet at home. But that is our core product is Cisco and Microsoft Link. We don't sell a la carte POTS lines, DSL, cable, PRIs, and straight internet service. So this is what we focus on and have been focusing on for almost the last 14 years. So this slide basically shows a lot of the fiber and the network that's connecting right now our 3 data centers. The third one is not on this slide yet. So we've got Salt Lake City where we're headquartered. Our other redundant server is over in San Francisco, and we just brought up in the Telex building in Clifton, New Jersey, our third server. And the reason for the third and the fourth coming in the Ohio Valley, basically late Q4, early Q1, is the emergence of Link and the growth and the expansion of Link that we're experiencing on our end. So next slide, Greg. And you just keep going forward. The next one. So as Greg was talking about 365, leveraging conferencing and leveraging, really this world is really coming into a true unified communications world, leveraging your conferencing, your mobility. So instead of having these different apps all treated with different vendors, now you can really compile it into one throat to choke, so to speak, and one vendor that's going to leverage all those different apps instead of managing all these different vendor relationships. Next slide. Let me just expand here a little bit. So Call Tower really prides themselves on a bunch of things. And the biggest thing that we pride ourselves on is customer service, customer support, and QoS. We have what I think, and I know I sound biased, one of the most robust end user and admin portals that I've ever seen. It's offered on a mobile app. It's offered anywhere you get an internet connection. From an admin level, you can go in and change users' profiles. You can order DIDs. You can order phones. You can look at people's phone calls, look at their call records, their call detail. Our support is 24/7, 365. U.S. based, so when you pick up the phone and call, you're not getting somebody overseas. You're getting somebody out of Salt Lake City, 7 days a week at 365. So not only with the portal, with the general support call-in number, after the account is installed, we assign them what they call an account owner. That could be anywhere from the CEO down to an admin level. Myself personally, I've got about a dozen accounts that I'm responsible to call once a month. I've got to note those calls in the system, check in with them, how's everything going, anything, any issues, any outstanding issues, and also that account owner can be leveraged that if customers don't want to call into customer service, they don't want to go into the Call Tower Connect portal, they just want to have one guy to call or one person to call to make their ads, moves, and changes for them. So we really are excited about that portion of Call Tower. We've recently, well, not recently, we have expanded into international. So right now we're in 52 countries. We can supply international DIDs as well as international circuits, whether it be just strictly MPLS or internet circuits. Good. Next slide. So we talked about the international expansion. I am actually sitting in a customer's office that we just brought on live today at about 10 o'clock Eastern time, and we basically put them through the whole Call Tower experience, including the onboarding, which is about a 2-hour training, a follow-up training tomorrow afternoon, right down to how do you pick up the phone and make a call, how do you transfer a call, how do you put a call on hold. All that training is included. If it's a customer that is not close to our office, we work that out, whether there'll be a small charge to go out. I usually go within about a 6-hour driving distance. I currently live in New Jersey, and I'll drive all the way out to Pittsburgh and as far as Maine for my customers to be on site for their installs, just to sort of hold their hand a little bit, make them feel a little bit more comfortable, do a video conference back to the trainer that's out of Salt Lake, and it's something we generally offer for free of charge. The other thing that we do is contact centers. So I guess a good note will say we're partnered. When I say partnered, their NOCs are in our data center, both with a company called LiveOps and also a company called Computer Talk. So with Link, it is with Computer Talk ICE, very robust. Those of you that know about Computer Talk ICE, it's not cheap. We do not have yet a low-end call center product. We're hoping to launch that sometime mid-December, no later than January 1. And what I mean by low-end, someone looking for basic call queuing, call recording, things like that at $20, $25 a user, instead of spending the $75, $80 a user average about what it is with Computer Talk, that gives you really the Cadillac of contact center. I know I just talked about onboarding a little bit, but the implementation, we can do BYOB, we can bring in MPLS. So Link uses about 8 different codecs. We've heard of G711, G729, and whether you're on a voice call now or you're on a video call, those codecs adjust. The one thing I will tell you, when you size out the users, and there really isn't a rule of thumb yet, but Link loves data. It loves bandwidth. It eats bandwidth for lunch, dinner, all day long. So 32 concurrent calls with Link, if you're doing video, if you're doing desktop sharing, is not going to happen over a single T1. So that's something I learned early on, and we really, when we vet out the opportunities, we want to make sure there is enough bandwidth. If it's on their own MPLS or their own DIA, we want to make sure there's plenty enough bandwidth so the end user has a great experience when they come on and never has to worry about bandwidth. Sorry if I'm talking a little bit fast here, guys. I haven't had lunch yet. Um,
That's all right.
you just got to block this little window here, Greg. Greg, can you see that when it says stop presenting, that little pin?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of move that so I can see what the title of the slide is. Yeah. There we go.
Sorry.
Okay, so who's a prospect? And people often ask us who's our sweet spot. I this morning actually just wrote a 3-seat deal for about $90. In there, that's all in. That's long distance. That's the phone. I believe it was a router. That's a Link Enterprise. So the difference between Enterprise and Standard, we can probably get into another discussion, Greg, between the single call path with Standard and the Enterprise's multiple call paths with conferencing and desktop sharing. We don't have a niche market. A niche market is anyone that wants to have truly unified communications. We talk a lot about customers that are looking to buy a phone system. Link is more than a phone system, and we really try to get away from selling it and comparing it to an Avaya system or a Mitel or some of the typical, PBX features that come with a phone system. With Link, it's completely different. It's a phone system, and then it's more. So like I said, I'm talking to you from a remote office over a company's Wi-Fi here with a USB headset into my laptop. I can do that here. I can do it from a Starbucks. I can do it from my house. A traditional phone system, you can't do that. Link also works from 35,000 feet in the air. So on the way back from San Francisco last Friday, unfortunately, I was chatting with my boss and actually some customers because we're open source practically the whole way home on the plane. And a couple of people sitting next to me saying, "Wow, how are you doing that?" So I said, "It's Link, and here's my business card." So again, who's the prospect? Customers with phone systems that are end of life. People are looking for more disaster recovery, more redundancy, limited IT resources. Microsoft Link 2013, the enterprise voice. If they've got the 365, it's a seamless transition, and that's really the play. And that's where Greg came to us, and we embraced him with open arms because the 365 world, a lot of the customers don't know they could put voice on that. So as I'm out talking to my partners, I said, all you need to ask them, are you using Office 365? And the average IT consultant either doesn't know it or is not asking. And if they're asking him also to go find me a phone system, well, guess what? You just found a phone system. So remote users, international locations, and you can just keep clicking there, Greg. I can keep up with you. Actually, go back one more. There we go. And people with call center requirements. And there's this list of who's a prospect really can go on and on and on. But again, we've signed up 2 users. Our largest user right now is about 3,500 seats. It's Santa Clara School District. If you go out and Google onto YouTube, Santa Clara School District / call tower, you'll see the video that comes up. They've been with us for about 6 years. Las Concierge is about 2,000 seats globally in about 30 different countries, including the U.S. Again, when you talk to customers on a smaller end, when we talk about the SMB, what is the SMB? 2 seats, 3 seats, up to 50. Other people may say, you know what, it's 10 seats up to 100. I've got some customers at a lower end of 10, 12 seats saying that's too complicated. I don't want to learn that. They don't want to break the behavioral habits where they just want a phone, right? And then I've got other 10-seat users that just love it, that absolutely love it. And again, all the way up to the enterprise. We've got some 500-seat users on now. We've got, I personally have a 2, a 3, and a 4,000 seat customers that we're talking to. The actual I've got to get more specs on it, but one of our other channel managers just came back from the county of Los Angeles with 110,000 seats. That's actually looking for us, the existing Cisco provider that wants to just put basic Link on top of their Cisco deployment. One of the things we did mention about in the slide up here is just some of our key wins, and there's a lot more to add to that. One of the things we haven't talked about is the type of handsets that are going with Link. So right now, Microsoft says we're going to enable the Polycom CX600, the CX300, the CX500, and recently they've enabled the VVX line, the 410, the 510, and the 610. We're finding more and more in fact, the customer that I'm at now is about 60 to 70 seats, just told me after the training, and hearing the buzz between the different users, why do I need a phone? They see me on a headset. They saw me on my Bluetooth wireless connecting right to my laptop. Here we are going through the training of these phones, and they're saying, why do I need it? The nice thing about Call Tower is you've got a couple different options. You can rent the phones, you can rent to purchase the phones, which means you own them at the end of the term, or you can buy them outright. We often recommend, we probably have about a 75-25 rental versus purchase. I, as a channel manager, say, look, unless you know our service, unless you've used it before, why are you buying the phones? Because guess what? Once you buy them, you're not handing them back. Once you write the check, you're stuck with them. Do you know how many users you're going to have in 6 months, in 12 months? So why don't you just rent as you go? And then from a CapEx standpoint, when you realize exactly, hey, my numbers aren't going to change for the next couple of years. We're not interested in any other phone model. We're going to stroke a check. And then when you do that, after 3 or 6 months, that cost of, let's say, $250 on a handset now just dropped in half. Everybody knows what the depreciation value is, with handsets. It shrinks dramatically. On the other hand, we have our terms are anything from a 1-year term to a 5-year term, so we're flexible there. We don't do month to month. We can be flexible in terms of different things that need to be added to the service agreement. I believe Greg has a copy of a sample service agreement. It's pretty much plain vanilla, so you're not going to be putting thousands of pieces of paper in front of a customer to sign off on. If it's the right case, what we do also, and I've done a few of these, is we'll do a 30-day out. We need to really build a case as to why. And what that means is the customer signs the agreement, basically agrees to go forward, but wants 30 days to trial the product. We won't port numbers. We won't order any circuits until after that trial. And again, we're flexible with that to a degree, but we're not going to do it for every 5-seat user. It's something that we need. It's kind of a one-off, but I thought I'd put it out there for you. And Greg, that's all I have at this point, and I'll let you continue, and then open up the Q&A when you're ready.
Appreciate it, John. Thanks. So what we're going to do is flip back over, and now let's talk about the business case. Let's talk about what you're going to see, what the price points are, and guys, just to keep this very simple, I estimated costs, I made some assumptions, and just said these are, pretty typical pricing scenarios, so when you're talking to a customer where you're going to need to be price-wise. So just for comparison's sake, the whole topic of today is voice enabling Office 365, right? But the first option up top is not involving 365. This is a customer coming in cold. They don't have 365. They're just saying, hey, you know what? I've heard about Link. I know it can be voice, or tell me what you can do. Help me out. Let's discuss how we can use this for a unified communications platform. So the cost on that is $32 a month. Now, what that's going to include is Link, Exchange, SharePoint. It's unlimited inbound calling, and then there's a metered outbound, or they can purchase blocks of outbound, which we'll talk about in a second. Conferencing is included with that. 25 participants is included in the base package. They can purchase additional for 50 seats and 100 seats. Here's what I like about this. The fact that it's granular like this will allow you to tailor a particular license based on the customer. So they may have some power users that use conferencing. So those, maybe you go ahead and set them up with 100. You know what? If they get bigger, they can be handled on a one-off scenario as well. So it doesn't make you, the nice thing about this, that it is granular, is you don't have to offer things that, the whole shebang to every single person, and then they're maybe overpaying. Some of those users are overpaying for their particular licenses because they're just never going to use that functionality. So this will allow them, it's much more granular in nature, allows them to pay really just for what they're going to use. So, but today, again, we're talking mostly about 365, so let's look at the power of this. Customer, when they bought 365, they may not realize it, but they've already partially invested they've already gotten halfway to a full unified communications platform. So the enterprise class 365, E3 and E4, those are the two that are Link enabled, or let me rephrase that, able to be Link enabled. So there's two prices on that. So if a customer has E3, then we can add all the functionality I described above. Instead of $32, it's $26 per month. Now, what else they've gotten by having Office 365, they've also gotten the whole Office suite, right? They don't get that up top, the Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and whatnot. But here's the real value, and I think it tells a really good story, for your customer. If they're on E3, it really makes sense for them to pay the additional $2 to upgrade to E4, right? If you're the partner on that, then that's going to go to you. We don't get involved with that at all. That's entirely up to you how you handle it. The nice thing is their cost drops from $26 down to $17 to be able to add the full UC platform to that 365 license. So essentially, you've basically cut their cost in half. So instead of $32 a month, you've dropped them down to $17. So you take, if you're looking at it all in, I know I'm going to mess this up, you're looking at 27, 37, 47, 48 for, so just under $50, it's going to get them everything, including the Office suite. If they're paying $22 for the E4 license. So there is the value. Now, again, John made a really good point. This is not just a phone system. So if somebody says, well, compare that to Ring Central. Okay, Ring Central is roughly $24 a month. So yeah, this is going to be more expensive. But if you're looking at, if you start looking at what they're getting, it's not going to be a fit for everybody, but it is going to be a fit for some of them. And those are the ones you're going to want to target. So some of the additional options that could be added on, unlimited outbound calling. If you have a shop that they're just, outbound calling machines, you might want to just buy unlimited on a seat license, or you may have a certain people. You may have 5 people that are behave like that. Those are the ones you want to give outbound calling to. Or what's very popular is just buying blocks of minutes. They could buy for $9.95 1,000 blocks, 1,000-minute block. A typical scenario is, buying a couple of blocks, and then if they want to buy more, they can buy more. The toll-free, if they're calling it inbound, which is not necessarily I would say the typical scenario today, because everyone's gotten very, very comfortable calling toll numbers because of the cost. But that is available. You get them their toll-free number. Their customers can dial in at 3.5 cents a minute. And again, all of this is metered. All of this is obviously commissionable. The international access is now over 60 countries. And then John mentioned the call center applications. And the call center applications, he's right. They're not inexpensive, but it is it is the Cadillac. It will give you everything you need from the call queues where you can manage them at the very, very detailed level. And it's the ultimate in a customer service, a customer contact environment. Not everybody, it's not for everybody, but it's those that need that. There's a couple of things, guys, that you'll also hear. When somebody, if you say link, they may squint or squirm a little bit. One is, and we've already addressed this, yeah, it's great internally, but outside, not so much. Well, or it really operates in a bubble, right? So what we're doing is we're saying we're removing that bubble. We're going to either give them that link bridge, or we're going to give them dial tone, and then truly the bubble is gone because that is their phone system at that point. But the other things, there's 2 things that are not spectacular, just for full disclosure. There is no real call center application, so it is a third party. And then the other one is an operator console, and you'll hear this one, periodically. So if you have a power user, you have somebody sitting up front, and he or she mans the phones, all these lines coming in. It's possible. Okay, Link allows the transferring of calls, but it's not necessarily intuitive. So there are opportunities for that as well. So there's definite add-ons that you're going to want to be looking for your particular customer. The nice thing is, this is not a one-size-fits-all. This is okay, let's go through the discovery call. Let's talk to me about what your needs are, and let's see how we can put together a package that fits your needs. And this gives you an idea of the pricing. And I can tell you the pricing is extremely competitive in this space. So let's do one of my favorite exercises. Let's do some assumptions, all right? Here's a typical, very, very typical scenario. 25 licenses at $17 a month. They have a little bit of outbound, so instead of buying unlimited for these licenses, let's just do a couple of blocks of 1,000-minute for the $9.95. The rentals John mentioned, that is a huge benefit. Number one, it's commissionable, which is nice, but number two, it's a fully baked package. There's others where they'd say, you know what, yes, you can use it with a phone, you can use a soft phone. Go out here and you can buy these phones. Here's your list, go get them. We're saying we're going to bring them to you, all right? And then you're going to be able to ease into this and just rent the phone at a fairly nominal cost. Commission on this is 15%. So you're looking at roughly making almost $90 a month on that account. Again, this is not going to make you wildly wealthy. However, this is a pretty small deployment, and it's recurring. And I don't know if, John, I think you touched on it. I mean, typically we're looking at a minimum contract of 36 months. So you see the value, the annuity that gets built with this type of a deployment. So with that, we'll open it up and see if there are any, I'm going to escape out of here real quick and let's see how we're doing. Anything's come in. All right, there are some questions here. Nick, is there integration with Salesforce as well? So there are some connectors. John, can you speak to any Salesforce connectors that Call Tower specifically? Oh, you've already you've already answered it.
Yeah, so Greg, that's a great question. So we as a company are going over to Salesforce at the end of this month. At the same time, we are sort of, I guess we'll beta test it into the Link environment. The company that I'm sitting at today in Pennsylvania, we've agreed to give them a beta test starting, I believe it's December 1st for 6 months. So the answer to the question, yes, we're coming out with it. Yes, it's still in beta and it'll be released sometime in December.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a pretty common question. Yeah, Salesforce pretty much dominates that space. Let's see. Here's another one. Did you answer this? John answered this one too. John, you were on it. I appreciate it. Can we add voice to Link-only plans? Yes. Yep. The Link that's a good question. Link is the mechanism. So within 365, that's what drives it. The Link client is what we're replacing actually in 365 gets replaced with a Link-enabled or a Link with dial tone. So that's the engine that actually uses. So that's a very good question. Let's see. Here we go. Eric, if we control billing, can we charge whatever we think we can get? Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of this. And I think that's a really good point. It's a very astute point because I do believe this pricing is extremely aggressive. I know of others that are 20-30% higher. So yeah, you can definitely mark it up from there. And we can talk about that, Eric, offline. You let me know. We can certainly strategize. It's a great question. I love the business questions. What else? That's it.
Hey, Greg.
Like that's it. Yes.
Greg, one of the things I like to do, and I think, Greg, we're both out of the same mold, when we're introducing Link to a customer that either probably doesn't know what it is, depending on what market you guys are in, and depending on the size of the customer, I love doing on-site demos over webinars. I mean, I wish we could do this in a forum in a hotel and take everybody for cocktails and happy hour afterwards. But it's so much more effective if you're an end user. We do give out demo accounts upon request, but it's so much more effective when you're doing a demo live in front of a customer versus a webinar. I do webinars probably 2 or 3 a day sometimes, and I'm out on site appointments at least a couple days a week. So anybody within the geographical area of 2 or 3 hour drive from the wonderful state of New Jersey, get me out there, get Greg out there, and love to be in front of customers.
So that's actually pretty unique. So what John's suggesting is really you don't have to be the expert in this, right? What you're really doing is looking for the opportunities. You're uncovering the opportunities, and then bringing them in, and then pulling me in, and then pulling John in. And what we'll do is we'll figure out the best package. And like I said, since there is some flexibility with the way that the granularity of the packages and the features, we can come up with something that's very custom. And I can tell you that is unique. Oftentimes there is hey, here's our package. Here's option 1. Here's option 2. Which one do you want to go with? Let's see. Here we go. Tom, if we have a completely closed network, can we use Link over our existing Cisco UC? Sure. Go ahead. You're on, John. Go for it.
When we're talking about Cisco UC, Tom, we're talking about a Cisco on-prem a deployment, an on-premise call manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so customers with the answer is yes and maybe. What I mean by that is if they've got a Cisco premise-based solution and they want to bring Link on top of that, the Cisco is still going to carry the voice, but they can get all the other feature functionality of Link that it offers, but they're not going to be able to run the voice over there. That's going to be controlled by Cisco.
Okay. Perfect.
Thanks. Good question, Tom. You stumped me. Very good. Not that that's difficult to do. Anything else? All right. Well, here's the good news, guys. You all get 10 minutes back to your day. So I, once again, let me put it out here. Here's my contact information. Here's what I would encourage. If any of this resonates, if sense to you. Again, we spent the last 20, 30 minutes talking about adding dial tone, but let's not forget the low-hanging fruit is also just baking in a conferencing bridge. If any of these things look like something that you think we're going to be able to help you with, give me a shout, shoot me an email. I'm around all next week. I intentionally made sure that I kept my schedule pretty clear next week to be able to follow up and help out and get you all onboarded. And maybe if you have any specific customers in mind, happy to, if you can tee those up, we're happy to get with them and see how we can take these solutions and really help them out. So with that, once again, thanks so much. And this has been recorded, so we'll make sure we put that out to everybody as well. And shoot me an email or give me a call when you get a chance and to chat further. And thanks so much for your time. You all have a great day. John, thanks for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it, too.
All right. Thanks, guys.